What's up, everybody? We are the Duderes coming at you again with another video. I am Todd.
And I'm Jeremy.
And this is another week of Smash Talk. Now, before we get into the topic of the week and our 5 characters, we would like to plug our Splatoon live stream. We are going to be having a Splatoon live stream on launch day of Splatoon, which is May 29th at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. So if you'd like to join us, we have a Twitch stream. We're going to have that set up. We have a Twitch account set up. You can find that in the description if you would like to go there. And I don't know if people follow you.
Yeah, go head over onto Twitch. Follow the link down in the description. Give us a follow ahead of time. Going to be doing some streams ahead of time. I'm going to be starting this later this week. The stream Final Fantasy Type 0 HD from PlayStation 4. So you guys can come over and chat with me while I do that, just to kind of get things rolling for that.
Yep, so we're going to be having that Splatoon live stream, so if you'd like to join us, come on and check it out, May 29th at 10:30 Central Standard Time. It's going to be a fun time. But with that, Jeremy, what's on the agenda today for Smash Talk?
Alright, we're going to be talking about what Sakurai said about DLC involving Smash and why theirs is authentic. And we've also got 5 more characters for the Smash Ballot to talk about. We're going to start with King K. Rool, we're going to move on to Knuckles, followed by Bomberman, then Rayman, and we're going to finish up with the fan favorite of Shovel Knight.
Woohoo!
Alright, so jumping right in, earlier in the week we got an article, there was an interview with Sakurai, the director for Super Smash Bros. Currently, and he basically states, that DLC these days is a scam. That a lot of the time these developers that are putting out games, they are cutting out sections of the game simply to resell us, and we are purchasing a incomplete product. And that's what makes DLC for Smash different, that theirs is authentic DLC. He goes on to state that work on Mewtwo and Lucas did not start until the game had already launched. They were a complete afterthought. It would have been easy for them to take out characters and sell them to us as DLC, but they chose that was not the right path to do. So, looking forward with that, every DLC that we receive for Smash, since its launch, is something that was made completely after the game was finished. And I would like to see more developers move this route, and I do agree with him that Nintendo is, for Smash at least, giving us authentic DLC, something that's new to the game specifically and not hidden in there. There have been some speculation that there are some files that are hidden in the game for Roy and Ryu. I have not really seen anything out of that other than a few rumors here and there on some forums. But it's hard saying with that. And they could have been added there in the update as well to kind of prepare things like that. So that's hard saying. I mean, any thoughts from you, Todd, on this?
DLC is a complicated topic. And, determining what's right and what's wrong is also kind of something difficult to determine. And I like Sakurai's attitude towards it. He doesn't want to, rip people off for the sake of sales and the company. And he clearly takes great pride and takes great care when it comes to fans and, genuine respect. So.
Well, he goes on to say that, he's not blind to DLC's merits. And he's quoted as saying, if you're looking to make a profit, DLC would be the way to go. He then continues, development is more costly than ever, yet the price of games has remained the same. So more income would help offset that imbalance. So with that being said, yeah, DLC makes sense that, games are becoming more costly, budgets are getting bigger, and, the price of the game really hasn't raised over the last console generation. I mean, for the longest time I can remember, games being $50-$60, and they haven't gone up unless you buy a special edition. So I get where he's saying with that. If they wanted to include more things, then the price of games would go up, and so to offset that, they do DLC. But on the offhand, then you'll release a completed game and sell completely original content afterwards, and make DLC be worth something. Don't sell us costume packs, skin packs, one level with half a new, with this is basically just a reversed racing track,
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, to be perfectly frank, Smash Brothers is the perfect place for DLC, and Nintendo would make a fortune if they are having troubles with sales with Wii U or certain games aren't selling as well. I mean, Smash Brothers is an absolutely perfect place. People like myself, like you, like everyone listening to this video, or most people at least, are willing to pay a few extra dollars to get these awesome new fighters. It's like, why not, they're really not hurting anything, and that's kind of, it's a perfect way to make money. People want more fighters, and it like Sakurai goes on to say, that it keeps people interested in the game for a longer period of time. So really, if you do it in a genuine way, kind of like he claims he's doing here, I personally have my doubts with some of the things, but if he does it in a genuine way of wanting people to stay interested in it and stuff like that, it's a perfect place. Smash Brothers is the perfect place to do it.
So we'll have to see where they go with DLC moving forward, and how they're going to handle the release of these Smash Ballot characters.
Yeah, I mean, there's, and if you take a look, Nintendo is clearly being, I don't really know how to put it, but they're getting more DLC as time goes on with Smash Brothers and Mario Kart, and I swear there's another title where they're offering DLC, but I don't remember what. Who knows? I could see maybe possibly that new next gen Legend of Zelda might come with DLC, or
I think Splatoon will have some form of DLC.
Yeah, like Splatoon, or maybe Xenoblade X. Who knows? So,
Xenoblade X. You don't need DLC for that game. You need an external hard drive for that game.
Yeah. So that'll be fun in and of itself. But yeah, Splatoon's another great example. But yeah. So I mean, and with DLC, there's a lot of controversy in the gaming industry already, and especially with one of the hotter ones right now, which is Destiny, and how they're doing it. So like I said before, it's a really difficult thing to gauge what's good and what's not, and overall, it's a complicated thing.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get into it.
Okay.
All right. So up first is King K. Rool. This has been one of the more requested characters, and one of the characters that has garnered a lot of heated discussion through the comments and amongst the community about whether or not how he would play.
Yep.
Really, I don't. My thoughts on how he would play have not changed since I originally stated them in our early impressions video. I do think that he would be a slower style character with a lot of hard-hitting moves, similar to the way Bowser is. Now, I'm not saying he's a Bowser clone. I'm not saying he's gonna do all that. I know that he uses a lot of contraptions and gadgets in the Donkey Kong Country series and all the other Donkey Kong games that he appears in. So I think that would be taken into consideration of how he plays, but I do feel that, yes, he would be on the slower end of the spectrum, and he would do a lot of damage in his attacks.
Yep. He originally appeared in the original Donkey Kong Country for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Such a good game. Such a good game. Oh, I missed that game. I love that game.
So many good, bad memories for that.
Yeah. He's got a lot of pros as well as some cons, and one of the pros, I think, is the fact that it's another rep for the Donkey Kong franchise, and he's a non-ape character from Donkey Kong. He's the crocodile, alligator, whatever the hell you want to, whatever he is, so it's different. So that's nice, and if they tweak him just right, he could be a very different type of heavy set character, because it seems that a lot of heavier characters are are close combat characters. I guess if he's got gadgets and stuff, maybe he's more of a long range heavy fighter. And I don't think there's that many of them, at least not that I can think off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So I think that could separate him from a lot of people, but and I think you've stated enough cons with the fact that he could very well play similar to other characters like Bowser.
Yeah, and one thing that could be interesting if they would find it a cool way to incorporate this is have him like call in a gang of minions for an attack to do something. They come in, like, smack you a few times and disappear. That might be something kind of interesting to see him do. I mean, and again, he does use lots of different contraptions. He would have his helicopter backpack, or maybe a different type of gun, things like that. And I mean, it's hard saying how exactly they would do this character, but I think he can be done, and he can be fun to be played. I really still think that he's going to be on the slower end of the spectrum with moving and doing a lot of damage with his attacks. Again, similar to Bowser.
Yeah. Well, that is King K. Rool. Let's move on to Knuckles.
So, Knuckles, he first appeared in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 for the Sega Genesis.
Good times.
Yeah, I mean, we're traveling down old school games here today a little bit. So, Knuckles, the Echidna, however you want to say it, his most prominent feature is the fact that he's, in the games he would run fast like Sonic. In follow-up games since then, he not so much. Well, in Sonic 3, he could also glide, and he could climb up things with his spiky knuckles. So he'd be, this physical brawler type character, not anything fast with a lot, like Sonic type speed, but he wouldn't be slow. He'd be fairly quick, but really, really just on the physical attack area. Not any real projectiles, anything like that.
Yeah. Yep. He'd probably be fairly floaty just because of the fact that, he can float in the air, and I think he could have some cool digging moves as well. He does a lot of, digging throughout his games, Sonic Adventure Battle, or Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, for example, great game. And I personally wouldn't mind having Knuckles just because it's another Sonic character. I'm a fan of Sonic. He has a lot of potential to be his own character rather than something similar to Sonic, like Shadow would be if they wanted Shadow. And Knuckles is a fun character, and he's gone through a number of transformations over the years. Like he's had a cowboy hat, or, now he's a guy on steroids, and in Sonic Boom, the cartoon, he's a complete idiot, and
now
poor Knuckles.
They need to forget the Sonic Boom version of him exists when doing this. I mean,
yeah,
stay with the classic design.
I mean that's why Sonic hasn't changed either. I mean, to be honest, I really wouldn't mind if Sonic had an alternate color costume set with the bandages in the with the bandages in the scarf he's got, because it's not terrible. I mean, and I actually enjoy the cartoon. I don't care what anyone says. I think it's pretty funny.
No. Fair enough. I haven't seen it, but
and I hopefully we can talk about more Sonic characters in the future. I'd like to talk about Blaze the Cat and maybe Amy or
Rouge.
Yeah, Rouge or Vector. Is it Victor or Vector the alligator? I can't remember.
I think it's Vector.
Vector. What's the chameleon's name? What's his name? Oh, that's gonna kill me. I wouldn't mind him in the game either. Espio? Is that his name?
Okay, here we go. We got Espio the chameleon, Charmy the bee, Mighty the armadillo, Vector the crocodile.
Yeah, I mean, if they went with someone the most likely candidates are Shadow, Knuckles, and Blaze, in my opinion. I would like Blaze. We can talk about Blaze next week.
Maybe.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey. Well, actually, is there any downside to Knuckles before we go?
I mean, other than he's kind of, for the most part, in the Sonic series until after Sonic 3, where they put him in his own game. And then there was Sonic and Knuckles that came out, and then he's been in several of the other games. And in several of those, he was kind of more of a background character. And if you didn't follow the Sonic lore very much, you wouldn't know much about him. So I kind of think he's kind of fallen behind a little bit. So not as many people would know about him or know much about him in order to want to vote for him for this.
I think Knuckles is fairly iconic, but not as nearly as much as Sonic or Tails. But
Yeah.
and I think that's why some people would prefer Tails over over Knuckles, is because he's a little bit more iconic.
Yeah, and I think Shadow's Shadow has kind of overshadowed Knuckles in a way with popularity.
And in being Sonic's rival as well, because Knuckles used to be Sonic's big rival, but now it's really, you think, Shadow.
Yeah.
But, well, anyway, let's move on to our next character.
All right, so we're moving on to Bomberman. Now, Bomberman, again, another one a lot of you have requested. So, how do we get Bomberman to work? He is owned by Hudson Soft. He first appeared in, Bomberman in 1983. He was in Wario Blast for the Game Boy. That was back in 94. Yeah, 1994. So he's not a stranger to Nintendo by any means or anything like that. So how does he work? Well, Bomberman traditionally his games were puzzle games where you'd have enemies wandering around in a maze-like area where you had to use bombs in order to either as traps to kill the enemies to progress through the area, or to blow out walls in order to create new paths in order to do that. So, how does this translate into Smash? Well, using bombs as projectiles, traps, being able to launch yourself with a bomb. I think that, again, with his name, Bomberman, he's got to be focused around using bombs in creative and interesting ways.
Yeah. Why do I get the feeling he'd have a really silly moveset like Game & Watch?
I kind of get that feeling a little bit too. I know that there was a really weird. I remember there being a really odd Bomberman game for, I believe it's for the original PlayStation, where he looked like this cyborg thing, and it was kind of weird. He had this one huge claw arm, and it's like, no, forget that one exists. We're not talking about him anymore. Stick with the the cartoony ninja kind of looking guy. That we're, Bomberman, we traditionally know him as. And, yes, he would, go ahead and give him a little bit of a wacky moveset where he kind of spends more time blowing himself up in order to cause damage to other people, or hiding bombs. It'd be really nice to see him being able to hide bombs under the ground, similar to the, proximity mines that you could pick up.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see those, or maybe having sticky bombs as a, projectile attack and them not exploding immediately. Maybe you got to press another button real quick after they've hit something to blow them up.
Kind of like you have to press a different button for Duck Hunt, for example, with the can.
Yeah. So, I think that would be a really fun way to have him presented in the game.
Yeah, and I think honestly, I think he has more cons than pros, and I think he's just fallen into obscurity, way long ago for a lot of people to even care about him anymore. And I think a lot of people would consider him a waste of a slot and waste of time, and because he is so obscure and really nobody knows him anymore.
Yeah, very, very true. There's been re-releases of the games on, several different platforms. So, they're out there. But again, I don't think we've had really a brand new release for the Bomberman franchise anytime recently.
Yeah, I don't even remember the last game, that he had. I've never even played one, to be honest.
Yeah. We had Bomberman 64. The last one we had was in 2010.
Holy shit, that's more recent than I thought it'd be.
Yeah, it was on Xbox. It was for Xbox Live. It was Bomberman Live Battle Fest. That was the most recent one. Well, there's the most recent console one. There's been some portable ones that came out in 2014 for iOS and Android and Windows Phone.
I mean, we just learned about these now, so I mean, what's that say,
I mean, again, he's fallen into obscurity, so
that's the big deal with him, and I think that's his. That's kind of like the killer. So, let's move on to Rayman.
All right, so Rayman,
another kind of man.
Now we know Rayman. He's owned by Ubisoft, and he's got no arms, he's got no legs, he's got no neck, but he has hands and feet and a head and a torso, and somehow is able to. I don't know. I swear it's either magnets or gravity, but so he's able to punch, do really long range punches and kind of stretch himself out and just do things like that.
His ears can turn into like a propeller type thing, which allows him to fly/float.
Yeah.
In the month of March, for Xbox Live, Xbox One owners, the game Rayman Legends was available for free. Fantastic game. Fantastically beautiful platformer. I loved it. I've never played a Rayman game before. It's the first one I've ever played. It's a blast. It's a complete blast. It's a lot of fun.
My mind just went dead.
So it shows a lot of abilities that he has to offer, and I think he would be. What kind of character would he be? He really doesn't have any type of projectile type moves that I think about.
He'd be able to, stretch himself out, kind of punch you from a little bit away. But, bringing up Rayman, we did have the whole, fake launch, confirmation of the character was. Somebody made a really convincing video of in-game footage for Rayman, and it turned out to be fake, and it upset a lot of people. But Rayman is currently already in Smash Brothers as a trophy. So, I mean, there is a bit of hope there. A lot of people will state that, him being included in the game is slim to none. But I think with him being a trophy, he has some good chances. I guess, yeah, his games are a lot of fun. Rayman Legends and things like that. But, I mean, overall, I would feel like he would be more of a brawler with a little bit more of a wacky moveset.
Yeah, kind of like another, Mr. Game & Watch type of silly moveset, Who knows, maybe other characters in the series will pop in and help him out from time to time. Maybe his up B move isn't, is that blue character that assists you in the Wii U game. Or actually, well, in any real game, and actually in any of the Rayman Legend games, maybe he helps and pulls Rayman up back towards the stage or something. I don't know. So he's got a potential to have quite a cool moveset, but I don't know how much of his chances are, and honestly, I don't know how much I actually want him in Smash Brothers.
If they do bring him back to bring him into Smash Brothers, please get Billy West to do his voice again. So. And for those of you who don't know who Billy West is, he's best known as Fry from Futurama, as well as many other characters in that. He voiced Rayman in the cartoon before. So.
That'd be funny. But yeah, so Rayman's got some pros, and the cons are, can he even make it in if he's already technically in the game? I don't know. Does that rule him out? It's kind of like the characters who are already assist trophies kind of thing.
Well, I mean, with that being said, K. Rool's already a trophy inside the game. He's not an assist trophy, but he's in Smash.
Well, it's kind of hard telling how they're gonna, what they're gonna do, but we'll see. Let's move on to our final character, which is Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight is pretty much an 8-bit character from a new game. He isn't an old character. He's fairly new. What year did he come out? 2014, 2013?
2014.
It's an 8-bit style retro game that was, I think, originally for the Wii U. I could be wrong. I don't know all that much about him, I'll be perfectly frank. But I did watch some gameplay, and wow, it looked quite fun. The music was solid, and honestly, it just looked fun. I liked the aesthetic of the 8-bit. They got that down very nicely, and it was silly with him using a shovel and hitting things with a shovel. I actually really enjoyed what I saw, and that was the first time I'd ever seen Shovel Knight gameplay. I'd certainly heard about him over the course of the past year and a half, 2 years, but never really got it, looked into it. So I personally liked what I had to see, and I think he would be a very unique fighter.
Yeah. I mean, he's got some, having watched the video, he's got that pogo jump that's similar to DuckTales, which I love DuckTales, but that's another story. So, using the shovel, in kind of the sword fighter type fashion, being able to dig up objects from the arena and use them against enemies. Maybe he could
he would pretty much just chuck jewels. That's pretty much what he does, is just dig for jewels. So I could see him digging up jewels and throwing them at people.
Well, alternatively, he could, in a way, dig up maybe an item instead of just jewels. Maybe he could have a random chance to just dig up an item as well instead of waiting for one to spawn.
Well, that's the only thing. I mean, that's a kind of a big problem, because a lot of people turn items off, and then that move would technically be useless.
Well, I guess that that would have to be figured out if it would override turning off items or whatnot.
I mean, I pretty much it'd be kind of be like Pac-Man's thing, where he has to continuously press a button to get a different thing in his hand, whether it be the Galaga or fire hydrant or a fruit or whatever. It could be something similar to that, where he's got to keep digging up stuff, and they're pretty much be jewels. Maybe each jewel does a different amount of damage. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think he'd had some fun attacks. He could flip people with a shovel. I don't know what he would. I guess he'd just use some this shovel lunge for an up B or something. I don't know. I think he has actually quite a bit of potential, in my opinion. I think he would be a fun character.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, love, enjoy this character and, love this character for a lot of reasons that he's appealing to me. I like that type of side-scrolling game, and, he is unique. How many characters do we know of that use a shovel? I mean...
Yeah, yep. And I think it's just the third-party characters in general that kind of stand out in originality and have just so much more potential than a lot of characters that aren't third-party. I mean, that just kind of seems like the norm with third-party, in my opinion. I mean, there are clearly some characters, for example, like Splatoon or Wonder Red, for example, that aren't third-party, that have plenty of potential. But it seems that third-party are really the ones that are out there with originality, like Shovel Knight and Shantae and Bayonetta and Rayman.
Yeah. So, I mean, if Shovel Knight gets in, I'll definitely play as him. I don't see any real reason why he shouldn't be in there.
Yeah, I wasn't really against him, but at the same time I kind of was, because a lot of people are comparing Shantae and Shovel Knight, because they're really the top third-party characters that are wanted. So, but hey, if both can get in, I'd be very happy. I think that'd be great. So, but we don't know. And I think Shovel Knight has potential to have some cool stages as well, and certainly his music would be a welcome addition to the already fantastic Smash soundtrack. All
right. So that's it for us, guys, this week. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe, and if you remember to comment down in the comment section what 5 characters you're interested in having us talk about next week. And your guys' support is what keeps us coming back to do this each week.
Yep, we release Smash Talk every single Tuesday, and it's up to you guys to vote in the characters that we want to talk about. And we got plenty of votes for Rayman, Bomberman, King K. Rool. All these were from you guys, not from us. So we appreciate all the engagement that you give us. And of course, thank you, as always, for supporting and watching. We appreciate it. So with that, I think that's everything, and we will catch you next time.
See ya.